Let's do this countdown. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Sit.
The
Hey.
way she looks at you.
3, 2.
You gotta go on, sweetie.
Get out of here. Go on. Ready?
I am ready like Freddy was in Jason versus Freddy.
Shining came out in 1980. Director is Stanley Kubrick. The Shining is a movie that is a family that goes to spend the winter at a hotel while they are. I'm gonna redo that.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Shining is a movie about the family that goes to spend the winter at a hotel, maintaining it while also having way more isolated time to work on his other projects. But slowly over time, everybody starts going mad, being stuck inside of a hotel, unable to leave.
The movie stars Jack Nicholson playing Jack Torrance, Shelley Duvall playing Wendy Torrance, and the little kid Danny is played by Danny Lloyd. It's a pretty easy one to remember. Jack plays Jack and Danny plays Danny. How many times have you seen this movie?
I just seen it the first time the other day, and then I just rewatched it yesterday, so I've seen it twice. You?
Including the last 2 watches, I've at least seen it 3 times. I do love the opening of this movie though. The helicopter shot going over the car and kind of through the valley and like showing all the mountains and the scenery, because I like the idea of the wide angle shots and being able to actually see a lot more of like the environment before you're completely isolated in this hotel.
That's fair. I get that. I personally don't like it. I think it kind of looks bad. It kind of looks like somebody who just bought a drone and they're like learning how to fly it. I know it's like, back in the day, they had to like do it a certain way. There wasn't as good as technology, everything like that. People consider this a classic because of certain reasons. I just feel like certain things drag it down like that.
Okay. This movie is really long. It isn't, but it feels really long for the first 2/3 of the movie. The movie doesn't even really get going until 40 minutes in. It's 40 minutes of setups and exposition, doing the interview process and talking to like the shrink about like Danny's Tony. And then I don't think they get to the hotel until around like the 30-40 minute mark. I think it's good. Some of the setup's good. Like I think the payoffs later are good, but sometimes they are like a little bit too heavy handed and it goes on for so long that you're just like, okay, like
we were talking about it in the beginning before we started filming, that there is a lot of this movie that's like duplicated, especially in the beginning where the exposition is said twice and there's just no reason for them to be jumping back and forth. And I just feel like a lot of this first 40 minutes, like you were saying, of this movie, it just takes too long. A lot of it doesn't need to be there until you get to the hotel and start like learning what this is about and why it's like eerie. This movie drags. And for the beginning 40 minutes of a 2.5 hour movie to drag, it's a really bad sign.
I could see the argument for the beginning of this movie being, oh, we get to see them in life before isolation at the hotel. But even still, the shrink's the only person in their old life, so it just kind of feels like empty anyways. I don't think it's bad. I just think it goes on for too long.
I think it's bad. I don't think there's any reason for it to go on that long. I don't think it's done well at all.
Jack Nicholson is so good in this because like when you first meet him, like I feel like you almost kind of don't know what to think. Like he seems kind of, I don't know about like you, but I thought he kind of seemed fake. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, whatever I need to do to get money. I'm a writer, but I'm looking for a change. And like the way he kind of talked was like too nice, but like it feels like there was always this underneath him. Wendy at the beginning of the movie, she's talking to the shrink about the time he dislocated Danny's arm. You don't really get his perspective until halfway through when you actually hear his perspective. You're like, yeah, this guy's kind of an asshole.
Right.
That's one of the first things, like interactions that he actually has with Wendy, his wife, is one of the first nights they're staying there, and she comes in to check on him while writing, and she's like, how's it going? And he's like, well, it'd be better if you weren't in my fucking face. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I'll come back later and maybe with some sandwiches. And he's like, well, geez, every time you come in here, you're just interrupting my process. He's dude fucking screaming at her to get the fuck out. It's like, okay, okay.
Understandable.
And
women.
And I didn't know like watching this again. Like, I guess I didn't pick up on it first couple times, but is that like him going crazy or is he just a fucking asshole to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of this like underlying sociopathic tendency that he has where he can just snap, where I think that's why they brought it up multiple times. Is they bring it up like 3 times in this movie about how he dislocated his shoulder. He does have this just problem, but I don't know. I always got like just like dad vibes from him, just like the weird uncle kind of dude, like it seems like he's got a little something going on.
Maybe he hit his head a couple too many times or
Yeah,
something.
had a couple too few bourbons and a little bit too much blow.
He is kind of a loser though. Like at the beginning of the movie, he's like, "Well, I'm a writer." Well, I'm not a writer yet, but and like obviously a lot of people try to do that. But when he gets to the hotel and he's supposed to be writing, this motherfucker walks around the whole place throwing a ball. He spends a whole better half of a day just patunk, patunk, just fucking throwing the ball around the place. And it's like, yeah, he's a very he talks about later, he's like, "You're getting in the way of my purpose, and I have a lot of stuff to do here." When what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, I mean that's also like why, I think that's also why he's getting upset though. Is she asked him any ideas today, and he said a lot of ideas, just no good ones. That message that like he can't think of anything because he is not a writer. He's like this fake person that is telling this fake story almost to himself because it's just trying to get him here. It almost just seems like everything is fake about his life that's getting him to this hotel.
There's a lot of things in the movie that are brought up that make it kind of like, who knows?
That's why this movie is also so big. Is there's thousands of theories out there about everything being inside of Jack Nicholson's head. Like there's a ton of different ways you can think about this movie, which is why I think it has that cult fan base, is because it is so weird, where it's like things don't make sense.
I think that's one of the beauties of this movie. It's not necessarily, oh, the supernatural, scary hotel. It's kind of about the imagination of it, put you in his shoes. Not necessarily. Like, I'm not saying everybody watches this movie and goes, "Oh, I should go chop my wife and son up into little pieces with an axe."
I did.
What?
What?
But you're supposed to be in his shoes. Like you're supposed to like feel not necessarily exactly what he feels, but the idea, or I guess Danny's shoes, because Danny's kind of the protagonist of the film. Actually, I'd say more like Wendy.
Gotta figure out your thoughts a little bit here.
I
You
know.
just spread it between 3 characters.
I know. I think you're more supposed to be in the mindset of all of the characters. The whole beauty of the movie is putting yourself in this place of going to a hotel and getting snowed in and being the only person there. Like that scary kind of thought that, sparked the movie, like sparked Stephen King to even write the movie in the first place with his experience.
Well, the book, not the movie.
Well, yeah, but the story itself.
But yeah, I think personally, I don't see this from anybody's perspective. I see this from the house's perspective.
From the hotel?
Yeah,
What is
like genuinely, I see this as like them telling the story through the hotel, where it's like kind of like that's why it's also jumping to the bloody scenes. It's jumping to the elevator. It's like there's all these scenes of like almost not like security camera, but it's like almost in like the corner of the house where you're just getting like these almost like weird shots, and it's there's like this whole thing that like the hotel is the ghost. It's like that's like where everything is like coming from. So it almost just like seemed like that's where he was trying to tell the story, was like almost through the eyes of the house.
I think, honestly, now that I think about it, you might be right. Because when the chef talks to Danny, he tells him, and he's explaining The Shining, which we kind of didn't really go over because, like, go watch the movie. That's not for us to explain the whole idea behind The Shining. No,
Yeah, do your own fucking research.
But he tells Danny, he's like, some places are like people in the fact that they can shine. And so I think you might actually be a little bit more right about that and like actually onto something because, Danny can share his thoughts with the chef, the cook. I don't even know his name. The hotel can also do the same thing, right? Like that's kind of what you're saying. It's like, yeah, it's like a person like in itself. And it shows you these like things.
Yeah, it's like
and
it's
ideas.
its own character that it's like trying to portray through the camera, which is just like a really cool aspect that just kind of picked up on for me.
Dude, titties? Love me some titties.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool scene. I love some titties.
No, this scene is so funny to me though. Another thing that like they show you about Jack's character and like kind of being unsure of like, oh, this guy's probably not the nicest guy, but even in general it's like, it's supernatural. But when Danny comes into the room and he's just sitting there, come here, Danny. He starts telling him how much he loves him, and Danny's response is, "Would you ever hurt me and mom?" It kind of is like, yeah, I don't know if this guy's the best guy. Plus, he cheats on his wife, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Dude, his face.
the physical acting in this movie is probably the best physical acting I've ever seen in any movie.
It's, yeah, all of the actors. Well, Danny's all right, but he's a kid.
Yeah.
You can't get mad at a kid.
Yeah.
He does a good job with what he's given. But most of the other actors, yeah, they're like just everything that they like, their movements and everything is just, it's not, I don't want to say it's choreographed to a T, but they were able to put themselves in the moment and really like.
Stanley Kubrick is kind of known for being a perfectionist and running through scenes as many times as he needs to for the shot that he needs, which is, very, very prevalent in this movie. There's one scene with the baseball bat where he's going up the stairs to get her. She's swinging down. 127 takes. That's insane. And it's just everything was done all that time because he wanted that mental break from Wendy. It's like this constant mental breakdown of somebody's psyche to get this physical aspect of actual horror from somebody. And it is just, you don't get it as bad from Jack Nicholson. Like, he didn't have as many bad experiences with Kubrick. Physical acting in this just comes through so hard. It is incredible.
He can be kind of reacting like terrified, but he can also then be like really kind of calm and like almost charismatic in a way. But then he can be like a creepy psycho, like angry. Oh, dude, he does such a good job. Some of my favorite scenes with him are when he's like talking in the bar, and he's always making those jokes and like saying, well, yeah. He was just like, there's something about it, or like he goes on that whole rant in the bar the first time about the dislocating of the arm, and he's like, you put one tiny, a small miscalculating calculation of muscular like control or whatever, and just the
Dexterity.
the way that he says every word and like goes through that whole monologue, and it's kind of just like, it's amazing.
Yeah, like
He's
obviously,
great.
like, he's mad, like he's psychotic. So like the stuff of him being psychotic is cool, but the stuff of him being a normal person and seeing him be psychotic in like a normal conversation is very interesting.
Yeah. And that's kind of the whole thing, is like he goes so back and forth from like, he sees this and he's freaking out and he's like, going crazy, and then he walks in the house and he's like, there's nothing there. Nobody's there. What was it? One of the first days. It's one of the best jump cuts in the whole movie, where the day title cards. There's one where it goes from like, it says Saturday, and then it's just him in the room just
Yep. That is one of the greatest scenes ever.
and then it's just Monday. Like, it's hilarious, but the way that he looks in that is just fucking like, nobody. I don't think anybody could do this role like Jack did.
No,
And
absolutely not. Like, this is what I would consider a perfect role.
and the really
Perfect
interesting.
casting for like all three of them, honestly.
No, this movie did a really good job in just casting. I don't know who actually was the casting director. They're usually one of the most underappreciated people in a movie, I think, because casting is very important.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I think a lot of people really loved what Stanley did. I think it's a little bit overhyped, but I also, every time I watch it or look at the screen, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, this looks amazing. I love the cinematography. The acting's fantastic. I don't hate this movie. I actually really like this movie. I really like this movie, but I also get annoyed by it.
It's like there are incredible things about this movie, and like, I understand why it's a classic. There are, some of the most innovative and influential shots from this movie that literally like made movies what they are today.
Yeah.
So it's like, I respect it. It's just not a great movie altogether.
I think we both have a slightly different, like, actual ending opinion on this movie, because I agree that I think a lot of the stuff in the first 40 minutes, it shouldn't be there or doesn't need to be there. But I like how slow a lot of this movie is, because when it really gets going near the end, it just gets going and everything feels like it went from 0 to 100 like so fast, kind of, that like I feel like the intensity's higher in that way. Like it's kind of almost scarier. Like, one of the scariest parts about the movie is the fact that it's like yeah, there's supernatural stuff, but it's a real person. It's a family member, you know. It's like, so one of the reasons why people get traumatized for certain things is not the act themselves, but the thought that somebody could do it, right? Somebody could have the evil in them. And that's kind of what scares them and like traumatizes them.
Like, I don't know. It's hard to say that it doesn't deserve it because it does. Like, if this was a 2 hour movie, they cut some stuff. I think this movie buttoned up a little bit more. I like it way more.
Oh yeah.
There's even like continuity errors in this movie. Like, it's supposed to be this whole thing where they're isolated in this hotel and there's nobody around. There's a whole scene where there's just hundreds of people in this room with him. That makes no sense.
I'm sitting like, where the hell are you going with this? I'm like, I don't remember anything with like, what did they go to like a town that I missed or something? I don't know. I think Kubrick should be arrested for this movie. If you buttoned up this movie, I don't know if you would agree with this, but I think it'd maybe be perfect. Like, I don't think the supernatural stuff is perfect with Danny and some of the like the Shining stuff. Like, I think it's a little bit weird, but I don't care. Like, I get into it and I'm watching. I'm like,
I get it.
each scene.
I can't even consider it close to perfect though. There's just like a lot that I don't like about this movie. Like we were talking about like the soundtrack. There's a lot of ear piercing, scratching. That alone makes this movie not perfect for me because I genuinely can't stand some of these scenes because of how loud they are. They drown out some of the voices.
Yeah.
That alone just brings points down. Visually, this movie is one of the coolest horror movies I've ever seen as far as like color goes. Like the bathroom with everything being red. You got the other bathroom that's totally green. That's probably the thing that I respect the most about it.
Yeah, I think the cinematography in this movie is incredible. They have this scene with him in the freezer, and it's like him on the wall, and it's like the shot from below, and
yeah, that's another one. Obviously, the blood coming out of the elevator.
Mm-hmm. There's just it's literally every scene. Every scene, I'm pretty much like, this is gorgeous.
Yeah,
like
cinematography in this movie is groundbreaking for horror movies.
When he rides the tricycle or whatever, the trike through the freaking hotel, that is such a cool shot. The camera's like right behind him, and then when he reaches the door for room 237, it like stops. He gets out, he like looks at the door, tries to open it, gets back in, and then the camera stays as he continues to ride away.
Oh.
And I think that's kind of cool. I don't know exactly the specifics, but I know that like it was one of the first real uses of a Steadicam and kind of the way we do it today.
That's cool.
And that's why it's like floating. Like you watch it and you think about it, and you're like, yeah, how the fuck would they do this? Because Danny, you watch him ride over all the carpets, and he's just dun 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 dun. So you think about like a camera, and you watch a camera, and it just floats, man. It just like floats through the scene. They do a lot of really, really good stuff with the camera in this movie, like we were just saying. I want to talk about the chef. I get annoyed at this. So I just don't understand the chef character though, because he's kind of just an exposition device.
30 10-pound bags of hamburger. We got 12 turkeys, about 40 chickens.
He shows up at the beginning of the movie to provide exposition about The Shining and like what it means to Danny, and then you see clips of him throughout the whole movie thinking, oh, he's on his way here. Oh, he's trying to do this. Oh, he's going to do this. And then he shows up and gets hit in the chest with an axe at the end of the movie. I feel like he was kind of a wasted character where like, I get it. Like, like I said, the exposition, and he gets the snow cat there for them to escape. But like, it could have been anybody really. Like his character in the grand scheme of things doesn't really matter to the story. He's good because he's used to explain kind of The Shining, and it gives you a different perspective of like, it deepens the world.
Yeah, it's not just the kid with this thing going on inside of his head, or it shows other than this family, and then there's other stuff going on.
One of the weirder things about the chef as well is like, I just have to bring this up because I've seen some theories online, but the fact that they bring up that he's black when Jack Nicholson is in the bathroom, and the ghost dude, the old caretaker, is like, your son's trying to bring one of them black guys here. Like I said, it doesn't really have anything to do with the grand scheme of things. And then
like literally at all.
And they kind of mention at the beginning of the movie, which I don't know if it's in the book, but they mention, oh, this place was built on top of an Indian burial ground. What that is like, kind of is like, oh, so that's why it's haunted. right? That's kind of, I guess, the explanation. But people online are like, oh, this movie is a deconstruction of like racism, and like, they use Jack Nicholson's character as like a deconstruction for this and that because they're on an Indian burial ground, and the chef and everything. And I don't see it.
Yeah, that kind of just seems like cope. And I'll be honest, it kind of just seems like one of the last films, one of the last great films that had actual racism in it. It just feels like actual, like, hey, you don't want your kid to be around a black guy, like it to me there doesn't feel like any sense of a deeper meaning other than racism.
That's why he dies at the end.
Yeah.
He's like, well, he can't save them. Like he's just here he's their valet.
A little editor's note here. I did a little bit of research afterwards, considering the fact that Dick Halloran is specifically mentioned in the new It Welcome to Derry show. Turns out Stanley Kubrick added those lines. Stanley Kubrick decided to kill off Dick in that manner, where in the original book, he protects Danny and Wendy, and then he gets out with them. And he kind of tries to push Danny forward out into accepting the shine and using it. He dies later because of complications, because he got in a fight with Jack. He doesn't just immediately show up and get killed. And Stephen King has talked about this, apparently, and has mentioned the fact that he believes that Kubrick really misunderstood a few key characters and key things, including Dick as one of his main things that he misunderstood. So I think Brody was kind of right.
The bathtub scene, I just want to talk about that real quick. She's literally just catfishing. She is a ghost of catfish past, man. She comes in and is like, look how hot I am. And then, they find out and she just cackles. She doesn't chase them. She doesn't do any of that. She just sits there and is like, hey. It's almost like the scariest part of the movie, It's like having to live with that. It's a good scene. Good scene. This scene where he's coming after her and she has the bat, I love this as well. The monologue that he does and this whole thing, I'm gonna bash your brains in. I'm not gonna hurt you. And he just,
yeah, because this is the scene that you see him flip. This is the one where you're like, okay, he's actually fully gone. There's nothing left of who this character was that we did know. This is one of the most famous scenes because of the 127 takes that they had to do for this. Like, it is one of the most mentally draining scenes that they had in this movie.
The amount of takes that they just did in this movie alone, the door scene, how many takes was it? Was it 60 takes or it was a something? I don't know. It was 60 doors to get the right shot, I guess.
Wow.
So who knows what all else had to be filmed.
It had to have been thousands and thousands of shots for this movie.
I'm kind of like iffy on the very final shot as well, where it shows him in the photo, it zooms across the room and it's him in the photo that's like however many years old, and it's like he's smiling as like the caretaker or whatever in like the front of the picture. So it's kind of like he's been absorbed into the shining of the hotel, that kind of thing. And I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of cool, but at the same time, it's it's a little bit much.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's supposed to be like telling the audience, hey, this is what I mean, and this is the end of the story. This is the story that's continuously happening, and Jack Nicholson has always been here, or if it's who's here now, and they were just showing it being a continuous cycle. So there's a lot of ways you can look at it. I just don't think it's done I don't like it.
And I don't know, that's why I'm kind of iffy on it, is because in a way I agree with that, but it's also kind of fun to not like have a clear answer. Like, and maybe there is a more clear answer that he had in mind, but it's fun for the people in a way to theorize.
This movie is known for being one of the most heavy theorized movies in all of like movie history because of the editing, the stylistic choices, everything about this movie. There's so much that just sparks debate.
Like, what kind of bat do you think that is? So, Woodson bat. I don't know any type of bats. Dude, that whack I'm pretty sure was real, right? When she hits him, she like actually kind of whacks him, like,
I don't know.
But I'm pretty sure like she actually did give him like a bonk in the scene, which
I mean, I'm sure it's not a real bat either, too, though. Like, I'm sure it's like a, soft little thing.
Stanley Kubrick was like, put a real axe in the scene. Chase it with an axe.
It's got to be perfect.
Yeah.
It has to look perfect.
You don't look scared enough, honey. how she would drag a body makes no sense. You know how heavy
Oh,
dragging
yeah.
a passed out like actual limp motherfucker is?
Yeah, a fully grown man, he has to be at least 200 pounds.
And this is so funny. Dude, it goes on from she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm thinking the whole time I'm literally watching like take out the latch. Like take out the thing. Like take the
Yeah, but
thing
I think that's also intentional, it's like to show that she's like frantic and she's
and
like, oh fuck, I don't know what to
distraught.
do. Like, I'm just like, she's just trying so hard to get him in there.
You're
And
right.
everybody does that, you fucking freaking out, you don't know what's going on. So I think it's actually like a pretty good depiction of like showing actual terrified.
You're right. You're probably right. I just felt like it took forever, so I just kept seeing her,
It's like when a horror movie person grabs a banana instead of a gun. It's like, what are you doing? One thing I do want to talk about that you mentioned to me that I find very bad about this movie is when he gets locked inside of the freezer and the ghost or the spirit or whatever you want to call it is talking to him and pretty much called him a bitch and said, "You're not going to kill your family." And he said, "Yeah, I will." And so he let him out of the freezer. And to me, like, say what you want. Some people like this, like, supernatural aspect of this. I think that's just lazy writing.
Yep. Isn't it like the Ex Machina or something like that? So the savior at the end out of nowhere, right? Like it's not like set up at all.
It's just boring. There's nothing to it.
I know we've already talked a decent amount about Jack Nicholson and even Shelley Duvall a little bit, but I don't feel like we put a lot of time into other characters or really going into Shelley. We kind of talked about it. She was kind of treated like shit, during the production of this, and like she was put through like kind of hell. Obviously, it's a fantastic performance, and off the top of my head, I don't think I can think of anything else I've seen Shelley Duvall in, actually.
I mean, yeah, I haven't seen her in much. The only other thing that I've seen her in that most kids have is Chicken Little.
That's fucked up. That's
Dude, I don't
it's
know
like-
why. Since the beginning of me ever seeing that woman on film, she reminds me of the chick from Chicken Little. Tell me I'm wrong, dude.
That's the problem. Is I think you're actually pretty right. It's
And
too
not
accurate.
in a bad way either. She's a beautiful woman. Like, no actual shade, but it is funny.
She's beautiful like Lizzo,
Ugh.
Danny the kid as well. Danny Lloyd playing Danny. I think it's a shame that he's in more of the movie at the beginning than he is at the end. Like when Tony kind of takes over his like personality and stuff like that. I feel like it's like he kind of takes a backseat to the story and is a lot more like reactive than proactive. Where in the beginning of the movie he was going after things, he was trying to do things like opening the room or doing whatever. He kind of was making these choices. At the end of the movie, where obviously he's running from like his dad, but like at the same time, it just felt like he wasn't given anything much to do after like halfway through the movie about.
Stanley Kubrick was really protective of the kid as well. He didn't want him to. He didn't even realize he was shooting a horror movie. He thought he was shooting like a suspenseful, like almost not comedy, but almost like a drama. So that's how protective he was of him in this film. Because of how they had to go about making sure that he didn't get traumatized, he doesn't have a lot to do in the movie. He doesn't have a ton of lines. He doesn't do a ton. He's more of like a story explorer. He doesn't really he's not a character really to me. He's just kind of a storytelling aspect almost.
He's like a device, yeah, a storytelling
Yeah.
device. He's supposed to be kind of our visor into the shining world of this, where Jack gets turned crazy by that, like The Shining, but Danny is like able to see it and kind of interact with it in a way.
Right.
So yeah, I think he's less of a character in this and more of a storytelling device. Yeah.
It's like I believe every scene that he's in.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Obviously, like it's a good performance, but it's nothing above good because there's not much to work with. From what's there, it's incredible. Who's your favorite performance of the movie?
I think it's got to be Jack. I think he just his monologues are so amazing in this movie. I just can't get over it every time. Like I get hooked if it's on TV or something and I turn it on. I'm like, I get sucked into it just because it's fun to like go on these like kind of monologue rides because he does them so well.
As soon as possible.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like, I understand Jack Nicholson. Obviously, he is like the person of this movie. There's very few actors, so like you can't,
Yeah.
it's. But Shelley Duvall is, like I said, her physical acting in this movie is the greatest physical acting I've seen in any movie ever. Just her eyes popping out of her skull because of how scared she is insane. Like, I have never seen a performance like this, and it truly blew me away. Every time I look at the screen, I am just fascinated with what she is doing. All the little details, like she can't figure out the little lock because she's so scared. It is just such a brilliant performance for me.
Well, and it's kind of fun to watch her evolve because at the beginning of the movie, she's kind of a little bit more meek. Jack told me he'd never drink again, and he hasn't, so it's been, pretty good and stuff like that. And like I said, when he yells at her about the sandwich, she's kind of like, okay, but she gets obviously she's fucking freaking out, but to watch her kind of fight back and like seeing
Yeah,
her
like
stand
she's
up in a way.
assertive and like standing up for herself, and it's a cool character arc to see for sure. I will say the chef's performance was really funny. I don't think it's really that good or that bad. He's good, I believe everything, but there are so many funny scenes with the chef of
Dude.
him not saying a single thing and then just panning to the funniest, craziest facial expression so it's like it's funny. I think it adds a lot of comedy to the movie unintentionally. Facts and shit, ho. There's a brilliant YouTube video about it. Please look it up if you want every detail about this. The cover of this is bright yellow and very different than anything that's kind of in the movie. He was given 6 different drafts by a very talented artist. He just didn't like any of it, and he asked him to read the book. He didn't want to give him any source material from the movie, which I thought was just kind of a cool spin to like not want to go off of this because it is a different portrayal. So like you giving it that different spin is really cool. The type of art, like thousands of different little dots to make a big picture, and it's supposed to represent Danny, the face that's inside of the logo.
The Here's Johnny scene apparently took 3 days and 60 doors to get right. And during the process, Kubrick kept Shelley Duvall completely isolated from the rest of the cast, which we kind of already talked about. And yeah, he really liked her.
Kubrick was very protective of the kid, so much so that he actually didn't even see the full length film until he was 17 years old.
That's crazy.
Right? Obviously, it was like different back in the day and like whatever, but it's to be like 17 and not being able to see this, just it seemed like a little crazy to me.
Little much.
Yeah.
The original room number as well was actually 217. The Timber Lodge where they filmed this requested that he changed it so that people wouldn't be afraid to stay in room 217. There's also a theory about Danny wearing the Apollo 11 shirt, and that being kind of a Kubrick nod to the fact that he faked the moon landing, which I don't know if I believe that. He wears a shirt and they're like, oh, he's telling everybody that he faked the moon landing. That's just, I don't know. I feel like that's a little much.
They're trying to say that Stanley Kubrick was the person that did the moon landing?
Yeah, like he filmed what they showed on TV.
That's funny. I never heard about that. So, kind of famously, the "Here's Johnny" line was ad-libbed, which most people are aware of, but they actually don't know that it comes from a reference from the Johnny Carson TV show, which I thought was really funny.
Because, yeah, isn't that the intro? It's like,
Yeah.
Here's Johnny.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so that's where he got it from. I just don't know why that is relevant at all.
Dude, what the hell is this as well?
Yeah, the scene with the Winnie the Pooh and the president-looking guy is my favorite scene in this entire film. There's no reason for it to be here.
Was he giving him oral?
Yeah. That's why there's blood on his teeth. Stanley Kubrick spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to make the maze that you see inside of the movie because he wanted an exact length and size for what he was going for.
Like I get having like building one, but like, oh, I need it to be the exact correct size. It's like, it'll be fine. It needs to be at least 3 times this big. People can't fit in there.
What is this?
A center for ants? I don't want to hear your excuses. The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
To go on about the maze, they actually shot it about 4 times, and they have different sequences for the feet. So they wanted it to feel like a dream sequence for this entire almost end of the film with this maze. So they would delete certain sequences to make the feet look like it was disappearing and coming back, which is just such a cool little detail that like most people aren't even gonna like see it, but you'll subconsciously know about it, which is really cool.
It's not like it's shot poorly, but I always felt like it was just hard to see.
Yeah, I think that's also like kind of why it's like it's dark and there's a lot of moving shots. Like it's also because it's supposed to be dream sequence. I think it's supposed to be a little hard to see because it's like you don't really remember your dreams.
I had the worst nightmare. Like I'm sure you realize that's this. Like this is the nightmare.
Mhm.
That's why it's like the dream, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of like little things that are put into this. Like there's a lot of faces that are put inside of the wallpaper. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but a lot of different wall like faces and eyes and stuff that are not melted, but they're edited into the background to kind of show what a lot of people theorize, I guess, is that it's the movie watching you watch the movie. If you're ever like watching the movie and you're just watching the stuff behind what's actually going on, there's a lot of like little details that add extra elements that are really cool. Shelley Duvall actually passed out at least once during the filming of this movie because of the mental strain.
That's such a crazy move. He's like, this kid cannot watch this movie until like, we gotta save this kid. Fuck that lady. Like,
I'm gonna put her through literal fucking hell.
It's like he just went through like a divorce or something, and he's just like, fuck, shit.
Women.
Well, this is a little bit off topic, but that's the whole point of the blonde-haired girl from Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones. One of the reasons why she's so annoying and like dumb is because Steven Spielberg went through a breakup when he was writing the movie, and he's like, fuck that bitch. Like,
That's awesome. That's so funny.
yeah, overall, I think this movie's really well done, and I really enjoy watching it. I do believe that the first half of the movie suffers from over-exposition, repeating of scenes or dialogue, just an overall kind of drag for a little bit, but I think it ends up being worth it by the end of the movie. All the performances are fantastic. The cinematography is great. The soundtrack can get a little bit annoying, but I still appreciate some of the interesting sounds. I believe they used a Geiger counter in one of the parts of the soundtrack as well, which is like how they scan for radiation. It's like like shit that does that.
That's cool.
Again, it's not my favorite. I think there's a lot of problems with it. I think overall it's a really fun watch, especially if you haven't seen it before. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think this is a great movie. I can talk about a lot of stuff I don't like in the movie, but overall it is very well done in so many different aspects that it's got to be an 8.5 for me.
I really like this movie. I didn't like it as much on my first view. My expectations were so high because of just how much you hear about this movie. But on a second watch, it was a lot better. I really am starting to enjoy and understand what Kubrick was going for. All that being said, I think the first 40-ish minutes, dragging it down, honestly weighs down a lot for me for this being a 2.5-hour movie. Other than that, there's so many spectacular things about this movie. Like some of the physical acting is some of the best you'll see in any movie ever made. I think this movie is brilliant. I love what it is. I love that it is a movie that was made, and I love that we have it. I just don't think it holds up as well as people think it does, but definitely recommend this movie to anybody that enjoys movies. This is a classic. Still being said, I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10.
Okay. Do another one?
What?
Like another video. You down?
We're doing a video?